What's happening, guys? It's another day in paradise out here in the Inferno, and it's just a Honda Accord. I'm Nick, and it's a chilly 102 degrees in the garage. So, sorry for the delay on getting part 2 of the trunk install up. It turned out to be quite a journey because I got the spoiler installed, and it came with some upgraded trunk springs, which you can see right there. And in order to install them, you need a very special trunk spring installer tool from Honda. So I went ahead and I picked this thing up to the tune of, I think it was like 45 bucks or something from HondaPartsNow.com. And I went ahead, I installed the upgraded trunk springs, even though the stock springs felt fine. I said, well, they came with, maybe it feels a little bit better. I don't know. Maybe the trunk would pop open easier. I don't know. I'm always looking for a reason to get tools. So I'll chalk it up to that because it was really just ended up not being necessary. But I ended up putting these upgraded trunk springs in that came with the OEM spoiler. And basically you go to pop your trunk and it would pop it at a 45-degree angle, but you would need to open it the rest of the distance, to be able to get anything of substance into the trunk. And basically, if you went to go, lift it that extra distance and you weren't holding on to it, it pretty much, was almost trying to like slam into the rear windshield. It still had like, I don't know, an inch, maybe a couple inches of clearance, but I did not like how much force it would launch to the rear windshield if you weren't holding it. So I figure, my wife drives this car, I drive my car, who the hell knows? Maybe my mother-in-law or my parents might drive it at some point. And if they're not paying attention, I could see a situation where they go to open that thing and, maybe it's windy or whatever, and ends up slamming into the rear windshield and breaking it. So I was like, so I got these springs in and I'm going, crap. I really don't like it. I'm going to go ahead and put the stock springs back in. Piece of cake, right? No. There is a lot more torsional force with the upgraded springs, as you would expect. And when I went to go and remove it with this spring, you have to put, this basically mounts right next to one of the retainer clips in the trunk. And in the process of trying to get that thing out, I ended up mangling one of the clips. So that sucked. I ended up having to order new clips. This is what they look like, a new retainer clip, and they were really cheap. It was, it was like $4 or $5 to get one of these clips shipped. But anyway, that's what caused the delay. I didn't want to post this video up until I was completely finished with the install. And so basically in part 2 this video, I'm just going to show you how to wrap up the OEM install. Sans the trunk spring. I'm going to go ahead and put a part 3 out. I videotaped how to install and remove the trunk springs. Maybe somebody will need that information down the road because their stock one breaks, or I have no idea. I've never heard of someone's trunk springs breaking, but I'll put it up there. I made the video, and but please do not install those upgraded OEM springs. I don't think you're going to like the result. So with that in mind, I'll turn you back over to part 2 of wrapping up the spoiler install onto the trunk lid. Taking some alcohol wipes. One more wipe. Okay, so this is the bottom side of the spoiler. You got my helper, and basically you get a couple of plastic tabs that mount on the outside. It was kind of a pain to get these things in there. I found that if you push down on these while you slid them in and make sure they're lined up, they would go in. As for the metal ones that have the stud for the nut to bolt to or to thread onto, those just slid in, piece of cake. So once you've done this and you have cleaned your deck lid with some rubbing alcohol wipes, you are ready to start pulling these tabs and getting them ready to go mount onto the trunk. So that's what's coming up next. Okay, a couple more notes is that I made sure to pull the tabs on each one of these little ribbons and tape it to the top side of the spoiler and to the back side, just to make sure that I'm able to grab these when I mount it to the spoiler. So at this point, you have a little bit of play in these. So if your holes aren't perfectly lined up, you should be able to mount them fairly easily. I'm going to start trying to get this thing on, and I'm going to look at it. Sorry. All right, so in order to get the spoiler on, I found, I had to wrestle with it a little bit. But basically what I ended up doing is you got the outer stud, you got the inner stud, and, you basically get it, kind of positioned, and you get one of these studs partially into the plastic retainer clip. And then I went ahead and got this metal stud started in the hole that I drilled in the trunk. And I came back over to this side and I got this plastic stud, or I mean the plastic clip, started in the retainer clip, and then I pretty much just had to twist this around a little bit, pull it towards it, and just get that stud to push into the hole. And then once you got everything threaded, you can clip this down, and move on. Appreciate it. Okay. So let's get this last one in there. Oh, don't close that. Oops, look. Okay. There we go. Okay. I'm going to give this one more roll. Since I have a blower, just to make sure any shavings are out of there, I'm going to blow this out a little bit. Watch out, buddy. Stand over there. Okay, let's get this on.
I got one.
Oh, it goes like that. There we go. There's one. Maybe. Oh, clip got pushed. Come on, bud.
I got clip.
There we go. Try this one again. And there's one. No.
What's that, Daddy?
Okay.
I don't need that. What's that? I'm not. Before that. I'm not.
Oops. Fumbled. Eight. 9. And 10.
It's done.
All done.
They're not done. They just, that's, you see